Welcome to episode 1 of the Cohen's Hockey Podcast. We have a special guest here today, St. George's defenseman, Everett Bowwin. Recently graduated, if I'm correct, St. George's defenseman, Everett Bowwin. How are we doing, Everett? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
So you just finished up your season at St. George's. Had a great year. I think you had an injury as well in there, but it was really fun covering you guys from start to finish. Remember the first game I saw you guys against Avon. It was quite a game. You guys always were really just always in it. How's the offseason been so far?
Yeah, offseason's been great. It was fun to graduate and kind of get the school part over with for a little bit. But yeah, I started getting into it with the skating and lifting in the last 2 weeks, and that's been great. Skate and lift with a bunch of my buddies from school too, so that makes it a lot more fun to be with them. And I train mostly in Boston, and it's a good area to train in, so it's been great. Can't complain.
Rhode Island kid, obviously. So obviously St. George's has been a pretty awesome program down there. You started off with was it Moses Brown? I saw you played there at one point.
I was in Moses Brown for a couple of years.
Yep. So you started there, also with the Junior Eagles, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So let's start at the start of your career. So what got you into hockey, man? Like where did you see I could make a career out of this? Like where did you see that kind of start?
Yeah, I mean, from a young age, just was always around the game. I don't live too far from Brown and Providence, and I grew up going to those games, and always kind of dreamed of playing, D1 from that kind of age, just being young. And one of my close friends, Max Donatelli, his uncle was coaching the AHL in Wilkes-Barre for a little bit, and whenever they would come to town to Providence, we'd go to the games and get to go into the locker room and see how meet the guys. And we met guys like Jake Gensel and Tristan Jarry and all those guys who are studs now. I just think for me, it was good to see pros at that level, how they take care of themselves and stuff, and just kind of aspiring to be like them one day. And I think from that time, I always knew I wanted to play hockey and try to do it for a living. So I think that's kind of how it started for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. All pros like that. I mean, Jari, he's unreal. I mean, Gensel's unreal, obviously. Yeah. He's such a great player, and now down in Tampa. But, so you're down in Rhode Island, obviously. So you train in Boston, you said. Let's dive into your career now. So you were with Moses Brown, also with the Junior Eagles. Take me through those days. What were those days like? How was it playing youth hockey with the Eagles and then with Moses all the way to St. George's?
Yeah, it was great. I started off with Providence and switched to the Eagles. I think it was in between U13 and U14 year,
right?
And it was a great adjustment for me. The coaches there with Freddie Meyer, who played in the NHL. He was a D. And John Joyce, and I think those guys were great for me, especially Freddie being a D in the NHL. I think definitely learned so much from him, and I played in a couple of his summer tournaments too when I was young, and got a lot of great coaching from him. Really learned a lot and took it in. He gives you so much, especially from the D side. Obviously, he helps you with the offensive side of the game as well, but he understood it so well, and I think that's when I really started to thrive was with the Eagles. And at the time, I was doing full season Eagles and then playing Moses Brown too. So sometimes I'd have to go right from an Eagles game to an MB game and kind of get there through the second period and just lace them up and get on the ice. So that was always interesting. But yeah, my time with the Eagles was unbelievable. I mean, it really developed me into where I am now, and couldn't be more grateful for all the development that I had there.
So you develop quite a bit there. And then St. George's comes along. Mm-hmm. So you go there. You're there for 3 seasons, correct?
Yeah, 3 years.
Yes, 3 years. What's the transition to prep like? I mean, it's a little different than Moses when you're at Moses Brown, obviously, and then U13, U14, whatever it is, all that. What was that transition like going into prep?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I was always confident in myself and my game, and I think obviously there's a little bit of nerves going into it. You're playing against guys who are 18, 19 years old, and you're like a little scrawny 15-year-old at the time, and so definitely a little bit nervous. But once I got a couple games under my belt, I was just like, I can be out here with anybody else, and I just thought to play my game, and I think just being the physical side of things, I think that was one thing I found a little bit harder in prep, but that was one thing that I was also pretty good at, was just using my body and trying to, I guess, help my team or stand out in a certain way in those prep games, because they're obviously a little more physical, and I think as you get older, you realize they're not as physical, but first year, like rookie season, you kind of realize it's a little bit more physical for you. So I think I adapted really well. I didn't think it was the hardest transition ever, but obviously going from Moses Brown to that was a little bit of a transition. But I didn't think it was one that was too difficult for me. I think just tried to play my game and adapt to the pace, and things worked out well, so can't complain.
Yeah, you see a lot of Massachusetts players go from the MIAA to prep now, and it's not easy sometimes. I do know a few guys where they made it look easy, and some others it's not easy. They have to take their time, then they get there. But for you, I mean, one thing I always hear about with you as a player is your skating. I mean, your skating just seems so effortless. How do you train a lot with your skating? Do you have a certain technique you do with your edges? Like, what makes skating for you look so effortless?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that I did was I think I was probably around 13 or 14 years old, and I worked out or trained with this guy named Rodney Millette in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, and the workouts that we did was like, it was all like stride skating like workouts. So it was like basically to help like improve your stride, and I worked out there for like 2 years, and I don't think I'd be where I am now if I didn't train there, honestly. Like that's really where I'd like transition my skating and really took off with my stride. I think you do all sorts of exercises from different split squats and different cables with you basically like resemble your stride, and it was
Wow.
a ton of workouts just based on your skating and your skater's position. And I think that's where I really that's where really where skating took off, and really happy to train there for 2 years. I don't think I'd be where I am now without doing that. So definitely helped my skating a lot.
Shout out to him, man. That's great. That's quite cool, man. I haven't heard something like that. I mean, you had a great year this past year and last year. I mean, you were drafted in the USHL to Cedar Rapids. You played a little bit with the national team as well this season, but playing a little bit of junior and prep. What was that like? You're getting a little called up here and there. And what was it like this season with everything going on?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was obviously a lot of fun to get out to those junior games and play. Yeah, I was with Cedar for a little bit in the fall and played 2 games there. And I think coming back, I had to play some half season games after coming back, and it was definitely a little bit of a transition.
Yeah.
Things weren't as fast and as physical as it was out there, but it was a good experience for me too. Just to play with all those kids who are going to be in college, next year and stuff like that. And it gave me a lot of confidence too, because I played well and managed the pace well. So definitely coming back into prep. It was before the prep season started, so
Right.
it definitely gave me a lot of confidence coming into the year. And then when it was with the national team too, it was just knowing that I've played some games before and just going in there and just playing my game, and gave me some more confidence as well, and got to stay out there for a little bit longer, which was nice. And definitely coming back gave me a lot more confidence as well.
Yeah, for those who don't know, I had to see if you were. I remember there was one game or two. I was like, is he going to be on the ice for a game if you're going to be with the national team? So that was quite interesting. Time. I think it was the Andover game. That game was crazy. If you remember that one.
Yeah, that game was crazy. big one
that
for
was
us.
insane. For those who don't know, Everett and St. George's, the Dragons played Andover, and it was just back and forth, and it ended. You guys scored with like 9 seconds left or something like that, and then
It was barely anything.
yeah, it was something. But so you have that. Obviously, you got a lot of stuff coming up. We have the NHL draft, you have the Q draft, you have the world of junior hockey right now is very crazy with the new CHL ruling by the NCAA. Did you have a reaction to that? What did you feel when that happened? We're kind of just like, we'll focus on that later when you're in the middle, because it kind of happened during the prep season. I think I was actually in Canada when it happened, but what was your whole discovery of that, and where do you see yourself next year? Maybe you could get drafted in the Q, you could go there. You were traded to Omaha, right?
Yeah, like a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah, I believe that was during their draft. So, where do you see yourself next season? Obviously, we'll get into the Providence college stuff in a little bit, but where do you see yourself next season? What do you hope to accomplish going forward?
Yeah, I think when that rule change came out, everyone was kind of I guess jumpy and excited, but obviously just focusing on where you're playing now. But
Yeah.
I think for me, I was just seeing like you see a lot of kids who are in USHL like leave right away and go to the OHL or the Q, wherever, and so you definitely follow it and see kids go, but you're also just trying to stay in the moment and focus on where you're at and focus on that stuff later. Yeah, and right now for me, USHL and Q are two options for me. Still trying to figure that out where I'm going to be playing next year, but it's going to be obviously one of those two leagues. And next year, just what I want to accomplish, I would just say just to get 1% better, I guess, every day. It
Yeah.
sounds corny, but I think just digging deep into the small parts of my game that I can work on. I think there's a couple minor things that if I can improve, can really round out my game, and I think that's my main focus next year. Just going in and trying to really focus hard on the development of my game. So I think that's something I want to accomplish.
What are some things you think you need to work on, and some things that you've really accomplished well in your all around game?
Yeah. I think one thing for me is just puck retrievals and getting back to them fast. I think I can do that, but I think I can definitely get back to pucks faster when I'm retrieving them in the D zone. And so I think that's, for me, that's one thing I've been trying to focus on now in the off season. That's one of my goals for the end of the summer, and definitely going into next year. And yeah, I think one thing that I can do well is drive the pace up ice and be a really good transition defenseman. I think my speed and skating just kind of makes it a little easier for me just to get up the ice quicker and drive the play. So I think that's one thing that comes not easy for me, but I think it's one thing that works well for me.
So obviously junior, could most likely going junior next year, and then Providence College. Obviously a Rhode Island guy, so no brainer there. But did you commit right on August 1st?
Yeah.
So what made you think like Providence, that's where I'm going to go and play my college hockey at D1? When did you think like this is definitely the spot for me?
Yeah, I mean, I think through and through throughout the whole process, when Providence first reached out to me, in early January, like I knew if there was a chance they were going to offer me, like I knew I was going to go there just being a kid from an island and grew up going to the games and only living like about 15 minutes away, and you just grew up around it. And for me, like when they told me they were going to offer me, I was like, there's a no-brainer. And when I toured, I was like, there's no way I don't come here. Like all the facilities and stuff they have are awesome. And, with Coach Lehman and the rest of the coaching staff, it's really professional, and just kind of fell in love with the place, even knowing so much before touring. But after my visit, I knew I was going to go there if the opportunity presented itself. And yeah, I'm really excited to be there in a year or two.
That's awesome, man. So we'll get into some fun stuff now. So see, there's a lot of guys, around prep and everywhere that like have these rituals and whatnot. Do you have any like funny rituals you could share with everyone? Like, did you do anything pregame?
Um, Pre-game, I mean, pre-game I always have a black coffee or vanilla latte, either one, whatever's been working, I guess. And
Right.
then usually if we have a win, I'll usually just keep wearing the same suit until
Yeah.
until something happens. If it's a loss, and I always get to the rink about 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's pretty strict. And then I think just always playing Suey before the games. That's
Got to do
a good
Suey,
one.
man. Yeah.
I think that's one of my staples for sure.
Yeah. One of the teams I cover near me for MIA, where I live here in Arlington, the Super Bowl is just every game. It's just
Yeah.
everyone loves doing it, man. It's something that everyone loves for some reason. But yeah. So you have that. Who are some? You have any funny stories from this past season? I mean, we had or any season at St. George's or at Eagles or anything. Through your hockey career, can you think of anything funny that you or cool or anything like that? Even when you were young, seeing like Providence College games, stuff like
Mm,
that.
yeah. There's definitely a couple that come to mind. Um, I think funny, and I guess one of my favorite memories is St. George's. Every year we have like I forget what it's called, but it's like around Christmas time. It's like Secret Santa. That's what it's called.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We have like a Secret Santa, and everyone like gets each other like funny gifts, and some of them can like be like specific to like one kid, or if he has like a connection to something. So there are always like some really funny things that kids get each other, and it's always a funny time. So I'd
That's
say that,
awesome.
yeah,
That's funny.
yeah.
Um, Trying to think of some other stuff. So, is there any NHLers you model your game after? Or you just see yourself as like I'm just Everett Baldwin. That's how I play.
Yeah, I think I've always kind of tried to follow McAvoy and Hughes a little bit, but I'd say more specifically McAvoy, just because I think our games are really similar. Just physical two-way defensemen who like to get in the offense too, and drive the play and be physical. So I think he's one guy I've tried to key in on over the past couple of years.
Awesome. So, any other off-season plans you have? You know what's funny? You posted on your story once you were golfing in somewhere, and I was actually golfing the same day in Rhode Island at Jamestown.
Oh, really?
And have you ever golfed there?
I haven't been to Jamestown, no.
It's unreal. It was awesome. Me and
Really?
my dad went. Yeah, I don't know. You were somewhere west, I think. It was.
Okay.
I was like, is he here? I thought that was funny. But you a
Yeah.
golf? You like to golf a lot?
Yeah, that's actually there's a golf course right across the street from my house. So I'll go
Me
over
too.
there a ton, which is it's really nice, really convenient.
Yeah.
Definitely do a ton of golfing, and me and my family do a lot of tuna fishing too in the summer. So
Oh, really?
that's always a blast. Yeah.
My brother is a huge fisherman. He does it every day. Like
Really?
it's just yeah. Oh yeah. He just that's all he does, man. It's just a lot of hockey players love to fish, but I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. Well, thanks for coming on. Really looking forward to see where you go in your career. I'll actually be at the Q draft on Friday, so I'll let you know if you get picked and where it is. But and the NHL stuff that's coming up too. I mean, how do you prep for that? Do you ever pay attention to those rankings at all, or not really? Because some players do, and some players just like leave it alone, don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's something that I'll look at, but I try not to tone in on it too much. A lot of them come out during the season, stuff like that. So it's obviously something that you see and it's there, but I try not to focus on it too much. It's obviously nice to see that the hard work pays off and stuff like that, but you don't want to get too high or too low about that stuff. So I think just staying even keel and just continuing to work. There's a lot more work to be done and stuff. So I try not to get too high in that stuff, but yeah, I think just continuing to train and skate, and hopefully that opportunity presents itself in late June. That'd be awesome for me, and yeah, just trying to continue to work hard every day and see where that gets me.
You gonna watch? You gonna watch it from home, or you going to LA?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be here. So
Good idea. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. The first ever guest of the Cohen's Hockey Podcast. Thank you. Really appreciate it. So really hope you continue a great career and go along the rest of the way and have a great career at Providence College and hopefully in the NHL.
yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's fun to be the inaugural guest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to Everett for joining us. We're now going to transition and head on over to our next guest, Evan Marinofsky of New England Hockey Journal. All right, we all now have our next guest, Evan Marinofsky. Evan, as you would say, what is up?
Not that much, Robert. I'm happy to be, your second guest. Everett beat me. I was like, oh, man,
Yeah.
I thought I might have the edge on Everett. He's not drafted in the NHL yet, but here we are. I'm happy to be on the first episode.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, I'm glad to get this started. Hopefully this takes off somewhere. And but yeah, if you I've been watching you on Bruins Beat and Rink-Wise, it's called
Rink-Wise, yeah. New England Hockey Journal.
Rink-Wise.
That's right.
A
lot of prep.
There's so many names now, there's like Rinkside, Bruins Rinkside. That's why I got confused.
That's right. Bruins Rinkside, the YouTube channel. Yeah.
YouTube channel, right. Rink-Wise. Oh man, we're getting crazy now. But how you doing? We got the draft coming. We got the Q draft coming up. We got the NHL draft coming up. It's a busy time of year, even though hockey's kind of dying down.
I was gonna say it's weird because like this is the first year in New England, like us in New England have ever cared about the Q draft. So it's like weird that the first week of June is a lot of work. I'm not used to that. Usually, like first week of June at the Hockey Journal, I'm like, oh, it's run a couple stories, whatever. It's a pretty chill week. This week isn't. It's Q draft and it's figuring out because there's 06s on the list that the Q put out. There's 07s, and it's like, are they actually going to get picked? Who could get picked? I think Everett is a great example of someone who an 07 who might get picked, and then you get into the 08s, and then you have the 09s who are sort of the prime group to get drafted. So yeah, it's a busy time. And then obviously Bruins, usually you hope you have playoffs right now, but that's not the case. And it's draft instead. So it's a little bit different, but I don't mind it. This is in our wheelhouse, Robert, because it's all prospects and stuff like that. So I don't mind it. I enjoy it.
It's the prime time of year. That's the best part, draft season. But yeah, it's been interesting. We'll start with prep and New England hockey and all that, and we'll go into Bruins. But yeah, we had that USHL draft not long ago. We had a few MIAA kids picked, which I thought was interesting. A lot of local guys, and then we had this past prep season, which was it was a pretty good season, I'd say. But with the Q draft coming up, you got the 08s and 09s, as you said. Who's a guy that you think, he could make an impact? Maybe not next year that could go back to prep, but like, what do you think? What do you think is going to shape out there?
Yeah, I think in terms of going to the Q, there aren't many 08s that I think can jump right into the Q next year and make a huge, massive impact. I think most 08s on that list, if I was their advisor, I would say I think prep is probably the right place to go back to. I think there are a lot of 08s though trending in a direction right now where like I think they will make an impact that next year, and I think that they are trending. Like I look at someone like Owen McHale. I love his game. I think he's an agitator, power forward kind of guy, and you don't see that really in prep. It's not usually the makeup of a prep player. It's more skill, it's speed, it's highly technical, and he has some of that, but he's just an agitator, and he's starting to produce more. And so like for me, I look at him as a guy that like I think he could jump into junior hockey probably if things go right this coming winter in 26, 27. And he's someone I like. And like Will Mancuso with St. Mark's is one I really like. He's trending at the right
so
time.
Far under the radar for guys, I feel like including me. I keep forgetting about him, and you look at what he does, and he's a great player for St. Mark's.
He is. And I think he's a perfect example of someone who like, I don't want to say peaked late because they're still like 17 years old. So it's not like it isn't late, but you have these kids like your Boscos, your Civilis's, your Thornboroughs who are dominant, at least in mass, that first year coming out of 14s and 15s, and they're still really good, but other kids start to, hit their stride as well and move into that group. I think like Bosco as someone I could see potentially maybe going to the Q this coming year, and I think he'd do fine. But I still think he would probably benefit from playing in prep next year. I know it's still up in the air as far as I know. Servillas is another, like, it's tough because he's at Dexter. So Dexter has so many mouths to feed. But, like, he's a guy that, you know, he could probably make an impact in the Q this coming year. But I think it'd probably be better suited going back to prep. So those are kind of the 08s. And then 09s, I don't think anyone's really fully ready yet to go to the Q and make an impact.
Even the USHL.
Even the USHL. And I think it's a good point. Like, I don't have the draft list right in front of me, but there's no one like, to me, I look at it like this, and I think I've said this to you before. When it comes to like, is so-and-so ready for the next level? Is so-and-so ready for the USHL, the Q? If it's not an immediate yes, then they're not ready. At least in my mind. It's sort of like the Hall of Fame. Like, if someone, if they don't immediately pop in your head as a Hall of Famer, they're probably not a Hall of Famer. It's different, obviously, with kids because they can, you know, after a year, like, Mancuso's ready or McFadden's ready or so-and-so. Yeah. But I think I think most kids could benefit from that a year in prep.
Yeah, McFadden's an interesting one because I remember, I think he was the second American picked both were picked by St. John. The first one was Jamie Glantz, who's on the national team. And I think second was McFadden. People were like, it's kind of interesting. MIAA kid goes to Thayer the next year. You know, he's bigger. I mean, you wrote in the festivals that his stock is rising and that you want to see stuff like that from players like him. And, you know, it's fascinating what's going to happen with these players going forward. But, I'm fascinated to see what happens on Friday and Saturday. I don't think any will get picked in the first round. I doubt it.
Yeah,
the first round they have the teams announce it on the stage. They do this whole thing, and then the second to 12th round, you know, it goes forever. And it's, you know, fun fact, I'm going on a French show to talk. I didn't tell you this. I'm going on a French show in Quebec to talk about some Americans that might be getting picked. So,
do you speak French?
Very little. I'm trying to. They're gonna talk English during it, but they'll like translate and stuff. It's called à la coupe. So shout out to my friend Etienne Dumais.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually 109. I think would be better suited playing at the 16U level next year, but I think could make an impact. It's like a Brody Berard. With Mount. I mean, he's a phenomenal shutdown defenseman. I think with his size, his physicality, kind of the motivation that came from not getting that national program invite to evaluation camp, I think he's a guy that if a Q team did take him, I wouldn't be shocked if he jumped into the Q next year. I think he is going back to Mount 16s, but like if he did go to the Q, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, he's going to be so overmatched. Like, I think he would hold his own. The reality though is, and like I just did a story on this, no matter who it is, you know, if you're a 16U and you're going to the Q or the USHL, like there's a 99% chance you're not going to have a lot of success that first year. Like that first year is going to be hard. Yeah. And you saw it in the Q last year with guys like Jude Heron and Matthew Crayer and Will Bent. I mean, these are really high-end kids who went there, and their numbers on paper, you're like, oh my God, it's low, but it's all relative, right? Like, and I wrote about this recently, like just because Matthew Crayer had 2 goals in 30 something games with St. John does not mean that he's a bust.
Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything.
He's 16. Like the fact that he's even able to do anything at that level at that age is impressive enough. So I think that's one thing people have to realize. And it's one thing kids have to realize is like, am I ready to go to the Q and endure that in a new place away from home for the first time? Am I ready to go to the USHL, which is cutthroat? Am I ready to go there and struggle and potentially get scratched and be okay after all of it? And every kid goes, well, I'm going to be the exception. And it's like, well, the reality is there's a good chance you won't be.
You're not gonna be,
And it's more so, can you handle that and withstand that kind of disappointment? Because these are kids, you know this, who are high end, who are Division I commits, who are future Division I commits, and them getting knocked down a few pegs. Jude Heron was telling me he almost got put in the boards put in the bench. He
told me that too at the New England showcase. He was like, "Yo, my first shift, I got absolutely crushed." I'm like, "Oh my God."
And it's a real thing, and like that, and that's hard for kids. And he was fine. And he ended up having a really good year. Or
he scored that game too.
Did he really? That's awesome.
Yeah, he scored with like 2 minutes left and make it like a 1-goal game. But yeah, it's just the whole thing's fascinating to me. I'm so curious, like what happens to with the USHL and then obviously the BCHL too. Who knows what happens with them? But affecting prep, how is it going to affect prep, MIA? What do you think is going to happen then with those circuits?
I think, with prep, I think this coming year, it'll be much younger. I think we'll see more kids than normal dip for the Q or different junior leagues thinking like, oh, it's the new frontier. I've got to go do this. The real question will be, what's the next year looking like? What does 26, 27 look like? Did the same amount or more kids go to the Q or do less? You'll have a full docket of kids who potentially left for the Q for next year's kids considering it to look at and go, oh, I saw what happened to him. I thought he was going to kick ass in the Q. I don't know about that. He didn't really do well. I might need an extra year. So that's one thing you wonder about. And then you also wonder how coaches change, prep coaches change maybe their recruiting, especially with Canadians. One coach told me that he's telling their kids like not to reclass. So they have more junior eligibility and they get sort of the full prep experience. And so like, I think that might be one way. You also have get these kids when they're younger, like get high-end Canadians when they're younger. They get a taste of the United States prep. They get to kind of be around these colleges a little bit more. Like, yeah, exactly. You actually interested in Division I hockey. So I think, this coming year, you're going to see more kids leave for junior, obviously, than past years. And already, this, we've seen so many kids leave for the USHL or the BCHL or wherever. But now you'll have a whole new potential crop of kids going to the Q, going to Q camps, who in past years would have probably stayed and played their senior year. So yeah, it'll be this year will be kind of a filling out process and we'll get a better look on it in 26, 27.
Yeah, because their camps are a lot earlier. They're in like August. It's crazy. And then they have like a break, and then they have another kind of camp. It's just preseason games into regular season. They kind of make the team in August. It's weird. It's different. So I'm fascinated to see who goes to those camps and, does that affect them in prep? I have no idea because we still don't know.
I think a lot of kids are probably going to go to those camps. I know Q camps are a little more selective or like they don't have as many people. I think, don't quote me on that, as like USHL camps. USHL kind of invites from all over the map. But I think you're going to see a lot of kids, especially 06s and 07s, getting invites to those Q camps and trying to make the team out of camp. Than you will in past years, obviously.
Yeah. So that's with prep in New England and everything. But it's going to be so interesting. I'll be there on Friday and Saturday. Saturday's going to be a very long day. It's going to.
I'm curious to see what you think of it. I've obviously never been. I'll be living vicariously through you.
Yeah, I have no idea. I got the whole media thing all settled out. Thank God. It was because it was. I was asking and someone was like, yeah, I haven't got mine either. And then they're like, oh, and I just talked to them. They're still in the Memorial Cup thing. Cause the season just ended like 2 days ago for them. Yeah. And then they're already going to the draft. So it's pretty crazy. On a Bruins stuff, the draft for them, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I was about to look at Bruins stuff on my phone, and then I saw you got kicked out of the zoo or something. And I was like, what's going on here?
Out of the zoo.
I saw those clips. 8th grade, San Diego, it was or something?
San Diego Zoo, yeah, I got kicked out of the monkey exhibit. Yeah, it was a sad day. And then, ironically enough, not to like bog this down, but a couple years later, I was at the Franklin Park Zoo, and like I think it was the lion or the tiger exhibit. It was one of the two. Was following me like around the area and like watching me. And I'm like, my mom was like, I think you like are an animal whisperer. And I always like believed that if you gave me like a lion or a tiger, I could befriend it. And I think maybe I'd either, maybe I would have been friends with that tiger or lion, or I would have got my head taken off. So it was one of the two. One of the two.
Oh man. The draft for the Bruins. I'm curious what they do with who they take. One player that is kind of has been talked about on Twitter, but recently is, I don't know if you've seen, is that I feel like Bruins fans aren't talking about him, but the NHL guys are, is Carter Bear. He is a player that I watched last night, like some film, and I was like, this kid is everywhere. But the issue is the Achilles. Same thing with Roger McQueen, the back issue. So like anyone you take, I feel like that they could take is risky in some way. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the crappy part of being seventh is like you're out of that range of like I was reading even like Corey Pronman today in The Athletic was like, they're gonna get the Bruins are likely gonna get kind of the leftover non-taken players of that top group, which is still like fine. They're like,
Yeah.
it's still okay. You should still get a really good player. It's just not a sure bet. And like Carter Bear's an interesting one. I don't know if he goes that high, but I mean, again, maybe if he has a great combine and
Yeah.
NHL guys are talking about him, like maybe he does. Right. So I think if you're the Bruins, you want all these guys who like are not Frindell, Desnoyers, Hagens, Martone. You want all the other guys, Martin, McQueen, Bear, Eklund. You want those next group of guys to be hyped up. You want them to have phenomenal comments, and you want that top 6 to be unpredictable and weird things can happen. And I think you're seeing that like with McQueen right now. You and I've talked about this at Ranks and kind of over text.
God, yeah.
Like McQueen, to me, the way it's trending, and I think we'll probably see this after the combine, is you might start to see teams go, well, he looked healthy. Physicals were good. He's a top 5 talent. He's, a big kid, has a lot of things that most big kids don't have. We're going to take him at 3. We're going to take him at 5. And suddenly you're knocking everyone down, because I think the way we've looked at the draft for months is, it's Schaefer, it's Misa, and then it's probably like Frindell, Hagens, Desnoyers, Martone, and then you're probably left with like O'Brien, McQueen, Martin, Jackson Smith, Carter Bear, those guys at 7. But I think you're starting to see these other names pop up and these other guys move into that rankings, and you see like elite prospects. Again, every team has their own ranking. They're not,
all different.
aggregating. They're not aggregating, but everyone's ranking is different. They have Frindell at 13th. And you have these, like Craig Button has his rankings all over the map too. And people go, oh, that's so odd. And it's like, no, it's just, that's the class. It's very debatable. So I've thought all along, like Jake O'Brien is going to be the likely pick at 7. But I think it could jumble around. I mean, O'Brien could end up being like the 4th pick. It's funny because Pronman was even saying in his story today on Wednesday, like, O'Brien might be in consideration as high as like number 3 or 4. And so it's like, maybe O'Brien's not even on the board for you at 7, which would open someone else up. So it's a world of possibilities.
I think you need one of those. You need one team to take one of those, like a McQueen or an O'Brien, because then someone's going to fall to you. I think.
Do you consider Martone to be a guarantee to be taken in that top 6?
I think so. I think the team's going to fall in love with his whole offensive instinct and all that. And he is a winger, though, I believe. So it's weird. So it is weird. But, O'Brien's an interesting one because his playmaking's insane. It's just his skating's questionable. Mm-hmm. And then I saw someone say, like, if the Bruins get a 6'2" center that is not very physical, I think Cam Neely will jump out of the press box. And I'm like, okay. So I don't know. So, I mean, McQueen is somewhat pretty physical. And then, you always with the whole, we go back to, was it 23 when Ryan Leonard was drafted? Like, all these players want to be similar to like Florida and Kachuk and all this. I'm just like, you do, but like, you kind of don't at the same time. You want to get the player that contributes the most. You want them to have a good two-way game, but also like, do they check? They've got to check all the boxes that you want as a team. And, all the teams have different lists, as you said, but it's fascinating to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. And again, have your own identity. I can't stand when people go, we need to be the Panthers. The Bruins need to be the Panthers.
It's insane.
No,
it drives me crazy.
They don't. They need to be a team that has speed and skill and good defensively and all those things. And I think Brady Martin's an interesting one because you and I have talked about him a lot before.
A lot.
And Martin, to me, when you read about him, and I think this, who was it? I think it was Cam Robinson tweeted on Wednesday, like he's one of the kids kind of knocking it out of the park with interviews, which isn't a surprise. If you've ever read his quotes or heard about him, it's like, this is someone you want to root for. This is a guy you want on your side. But I think the one drawback I have with Brady Martin, and it's only one, is what's his ceiling? Like, he's probably a 3rd-line center, maybe a 2nd-line center. And if you're picking at 7, can you justify that when you are full of guys who are kind of in that middle tier, middle 6 grouping? And I love Martin. I love his highlights. I love hearing about him. I love his upbringing. Like, this is someone that, he's a farmer. He grew up, working out by like working on a farm. And that's the kind of guy you're like, that's a culture guy. Like, he's not working out at a fancy gym and all this. Like, that dude's milking cows. And so, I love that end of it. And I think there, this is what I also wonder is like, does a team in that top 6 have interviews with him where they're like, we want this kid. I don't care where he's in our lineup, but that's a culture setting guy. And I wonder if a Philly or a Utah or someone like that takes a kid like him because he's really likable and a future leader and say, we don't care what he is, but he's our future captain. And that's all that matters. But can the Bruins afford to take him at 7? I don't know. That offensive upside sort of scares me. But again, Robert, you said it earlier, like every one of these guys has like a question mark. O'Brien, it's like his skating is McQueen, it's his back. Bear, it's his Achilles, and Martin, it's his upside. And so like everyone has a problem, but Martin not having that high offensive upside, a little bit more of a red flag than some of the others, at least for number 7.
Yeah,
I love him too. Oh my God. Like you read about this guy and it's like, I want him. I want him.
That's
on
what
my
happened
team.
with me. That's what happened with me and Carter Bear last night. I'm watching his film for like the first time and I'm like, this kid needs to be a Bruin. He's a Bruin. Get him. We need him.
Has
like,
all those attributes.
Well, because I'm watching him. He's everyone on the penalty kill. He has like 4 shorthanded goals I'm watching of. And don't forget, his season was cut a little short, not super short, not like McQueen's where he was only played like 17 games. But it's like, he's so physical. He does all that. Like you fall in love with that and all that. But it's great. And then you go to their one thing I'm fascinated by is what they're going to do in the second round is because they have 2 second rounders and obviously right-handed shot defenseman is a big need. It's a big need in my opinion. And then do they take and then they could take another higher upside guy. I look at a guy like, I told you this, we were at the festival. You might not remember is the kid and played in the USHL this year after not doing well in Russia is Ivan Rabkin. Like,
you like that kid. You like
I
that
love
guy.
him. I love this player. He's just everywhere. He had a lot of penalty minutes. Not saying that's a good thing, but he was everywhere and he scored some big time goals for Muskegon this year. And obviously, I don't know what his future is because I don't think he's eligible for NCAA because he played a crap ton of pro games or whatever. So I don't know what happens with a player like him. But for a defenseman, you said you're a big Carter Amico guy. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Carter Amico guy because there's a bias there. I like him. He's from Maine, like a great family, and we've done a lot with him at New England Hockey Journal. But I think he would fit, and from everything I've heard, his medicals should be good. Like BU is going to start taking over with his, I think it was his knee, and he should be good for the future, and that shouldn't be like a recurring thing. And if it's not, phenomenal skater, physical, great stick, a guy that you can, I don't want to say safely project because you can never safely project anything, but like more likely than not is a second line right shot or second pairing right shot defenseman for the future. Like that's an asset. And I think when you look at that second round, there are quite a few of those guys. In terms of the other pick, to me, it's, and I don't know, like I don't have specific guys off the top of my head that I can run through, but like I go best available. Like if it's a left shot D, if that's if left shot D is the top on your draft board, they're fine. If it's another center or a wing, they are hurting on the wings, especially at left wing, organizationally, depth wise. So like if you can find a good left wing in that second round, man, like you do it. And this was my biggest thing going into the year. I was like, they need to find a way to get into the second round. And to their credit, they got 2 picks. They got 2 second round picks. And people, I think like you and I get it. And this isn't not an indictment on anybody, but like people overlook second round picks. I think they're so valuable because you get a guy like a Teddy Stiga, right? Teddy Stiga is not a first because he's 5'10". He's not a first because he's not like, this dynamic, incredible player. He's just a solid, stable guy that will someday be a very good middle 6 winger in the NHL. And like that's what you want in the second round, I think.
I love Teddy Stiga, Belmont Hill alum, and then obviously the golden goal last year was unreal.
That was crazy.
And then
I almost jumped through the TV when it was.
Yeah, I texted you immediately after it happened. You're like, that was the best thing that could have happened.
It's like I can't believe he was the one to do it. It was incredible.
Yeah, he's unreal. Like a player like him would be perfect in the second round. And the other thing with the second round, Don Sweeney has had a pretty good track record of second rounders, believe it or not. He's got I can't name them all off the top of my head, but
Patra and Lowry,
right? Lowry, even Jeremy Lauzon. He's not on your team anymore, but he was he's a serviceable NHLer for Nashville now. There's plenty of them. So you never know what he's going to do with that pick. But We'll see. Maybe they'll pick the other guys we had on earlier. That would be something.
Everett
interesting.
Baldwin with the second round
Yeah.
pick. That'd be incredible. You know what? Number 7, Everett Baldwin. That's my pick at number 7.
Yep. Right in the first round.
Everett
take
Baldwin.
him.
Yep. St. George's defenseman.
Yeah.
That would go over well in this town, wouldn't it?
Oh my God.
The local kid.
Local kid, what are you doing? Same thing. Even if they take Amico, man, the people will freak out. They'll freak out because he's.
I know.
It's just crazy. I mean, I think I sent you a mock draft that was like, it was I think it was Baldwin, Amico, and Donovan.
That's right. I love Alex Donovan. If you can get Alex Donovan, if there's to me, he's the perfect like 7th round pick. Take a flyer on him. Like he was so good at Shattuck. He was outstanding at Select 17s last year. And then I think he was one of the top point getters at Helenka. So I know he's smaller, but he plays so much bigger. Alex Donovan is a name. He's from Darien, Connecticut. He's a name I would love. If they got a 7th round flyer on him, like I'm all for it. I'm completely for Alex Donovan. I think he's going to be fantastic.
Wonder where he plays next year. Wonder if he goes to the USHL. He could go to the Q too. You know what's interesting? He wasn't on the list for the draft, and he was eligible.
There were kids like he wasn't on it. Brosnan wasn't on it. McFadden wasn't on it. I was shocked because
McFadden's picked already. He's on right thrown by Shane John, so that's why he wasn't.
When was that?
On last season.
I missed that.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Yeah, because I'm really curious to see what happens. We had a lot of crazy days coming up for the hockey season going into next season, but
Are they going to announce a head coach?
I don't know. I don't know if they just did. Like it's like I'm afraid they're going to announce it like while we're recording this, and it's going to drive me crazy.
I know. I was, we've been recording podcasts. Like we waited till Monday afternoon at like 4 to record one because I was like, all right, Monday, it'll be Monday. And then I was like, all right, it's not Monday, it'll be Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Connor and I were like putting it off. And finally we're just like, who cares? Like if it comes out, whatever. Yeah. There's still like content in the episode that people can listen to. So
yeah, exactly. And
who do you want?
Who do I want? My number one favorite was Donskov, but like it doesn't sound like he's in it. It doesn't sound like he's in, unless they're waiting for.
There you go. They might be waiting.
I don't know. So it's great. I wouldn't mind Sturm. I wouldn't mind him. I just like the numbers with his like power play or whatever it was were like not great.
I know.
But he got the most out of his players, and I think it was he also with Cal? No, there was another coach with Calgary or something, but he's with LA mostly, obviously, and then you still have Mitch Love as an option as well, but. Because Pittsburgh today went a different route with Muse, right?
Canton guy. I was pumped for him. Oh my God.
Me too.
He's a guy that has, his path's been awesome. He's a guy that deserves it kind of out of nowhere, but props to Pittsburgh. And I'm not just saying that because he's from Canton. Like, go off the board. Find a guy that's like a great hockey teacher. I was reading, I think it was Josh Yohe from the Athletic wrote a great column about how like they're clearly going to rebuild and this is the direction. And he's, going to kind of teach this next group. And I think that's a great way to go. For Bruins, I like Mitch Love. I'm fine because here's my thing. And this is such a annoying Fence City kind of take. And I hate doing this. Of the names left, right? Like it seems like it's either going to be Love or Sturm, probably Sturm.
Yeah.
I'm fine with Sturm. Like I am. I'm fine with it. I like the direction they're going in. Guy that can grow with the roster. I don't think he's a Bruins guy, even though he played here for 5 years. But Mitch Love, and maybe it's because I've watched his videos on YouTube about sort of like his defensive philosophies, activating the D, good stick on puck, things like that. I really like Mitch Love. And I think he would kind of, I don't know if fans would love it as much because I think they would head back to sort of like Bruce Cassidy Bruins win games 3-2, 2-1, good defense. But like, that's what they need, and their strength is on D and in net, or at least it should be. So I like Mitch Love. I like the idea of him. If it ends up being him, and now like the Bruins are the last team standing that need a head coach. So
last one.
I like Love, but if they're waiting all this time because it's Donskov, or they're like really vetting Donskov, and we also have to remember is Sweeney is in Buffalo right now.
He is the whole staff's there, I believe.
They're all there. So like, Can you do an in-person with Donskov? Like what's sort of that? So I would, again, if Donskoff's not in the mix, because I've always been a Donskoff guy, I would go Love or Sturm. I'd be fine with either of those guys. Then you have Jay Leach too, which is interesting.
Yeah, Jay Leach is apparently in it too, and I have no clue where it's gonna go. I have no idea. It's been very odd. I remember the Montgomery search. Was it the Montgomery search where we all thought it was gonna be David Quinn forever?
That's right.
And it wasn't. It ended up being Montgomery. It kind of came into the picture at the end, and then it was Montgomery. So I have a feeling.
I sort of wonder if they leaked that to see what people's reaction was, because I remember people were kind of like, not David Quinn. No.
Freaking out online and everywhere. You heard it on talk radio. They're like, yeah, this is a lame hire, terrible. And then ended up being Montgomery, and now he's gone. So
that's right.
It's kind of crazy. Well, Evan, thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Good luck at hockey later. You said you have a game. Is that a Warrior?
No, that's my morning league. No, this is just out in Wellesley at BSI. So it's a regular league. It's good. It's a nice little night skate. So no wrong.
The Q Showcase was there. That was the first time I was there since I was there for some basketball thing. I literally had played basketball. I used to play basketball, baseball were my sports. I played basketball there, I think, and I was never there for hockey, and it's quite a facility, gotta say.
It's insane. It didn't get built until I was in college, I think, so I never really played there growing up. But yeah, it's really nice, good rink. Like, seats are kind of weird, but it works.
It is weird. Yeah, there's a lot of scouts there when I was there. Well, thank you again. We'll I'll definitely be seeing you around the rinks. We'll give you some updates on Friday and Saturday on what happens.
Please do.
If you probably want to be hearing from me Friday, because it's only the first round, unless they take some team. I don't know. It takes like a big flyer on someone. I did hear there was one player that is a defenseman that could be taken. I won't say who, but we'll see what happens. So, thanks for coming on, and we'll definitely see you around. And we'll end it there.